A true leader is the person that thinks of others even before themselves, isn't it?
Yeah. A good leader surrounds himself with people that are better and smarter than him.
Welcome to the Leaders in Tech podcast. I am your host, David Mansella. This podcast is focused to interview leaders in technology that has changed the world for a better place and are actually making the business needs and wants. And with us, we have a beautiful, amazing example of that. He's a very good friend of mine and a business partner, Wayne Lipkus. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Wayne, I'm not very good at pronunciating names. So can you please tell the audience what's your full name,
Sure,
where do
my
you
full
live, and what do you do for a living?
Sure. My name is Wayne Lipkus. I currently live in Toronto, Canada, and I do computer consulting. I've been doing this since about 1989. I've had my own company. I've been fortunate to do consulting for a lot of different areas, a lot of different agencies, a lot of different companies, and worked with a lot of great people all over the world, Europe, India, South America, Latin America. So it's been quite the blessing.
That's fantastic. And that's why you're here. For the audience, I have the privilege to be a partner with Wayne in a software company that we built together. We've been working together since 2011, Wayne, or 2012.
Yes, 2012.
And you will not find a person with a bigger heart and also the desire to do good for the people that he works with and for the people that works around him. So welcome to the show, brother. Let's get into this.
I'm very excited.
Let's look back at the beginning of your career. Did you go to university? What did you do in school?
So I graduated with a commerce degree. And after I did that, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then I went back to school for computers, as that was kind of up and coming. So I did that for a few years. And then early on, I got a job opportunity at a company here called Canadian Tire to work in their information systems department. Uh, at that time, someone approached me with an idea for a product, a venture to do. So I thought this might be interested. I'm newly married. Now's the time to take the chance and the risk. So I did it. So me and a partner of mine at the time, we developed a system for the mortgage brokerage industry. And from that, we expanded it to not just brokers, but lenders and everything. So the system grew and grew and grew over several years, and we were very fortunate. And from that, somebody came in and bought out that system from us. And then somebody is, in the 90s, there was the big tech boom, and everybody was interested in tech and where it was going. And this is just a few years before Y2K. And it was just an exciting time. So we were very fortunate with our first system.
That's crazy. You have your first business degree, then you go back to school to get a computer science degree, and then you finish that, and then you get hired. By the way, for the audience, Canadian Tire is one of the largest retailers in Canada, large stores across Canada. It's a very big, multi-billion-dollar business. Um, so getting a job in the IT department there is not easy. So that shows how Wayne was, geared towards technology since the beginning and excelling at it. Now, having such a good stable job and jumping into a business venture that involves software development and programming is not for the faint of heart. It's very difficult, especially when you already have family and you were married. What was your thinking? What made you take that leap of faith?
I think some people have this, I don't want to say crazy mindset, this entrepreneurial mindset to always look for something different. And as technology was changing and evolving, it was an exciting time. This was still early on. This is before the web kind of existed. This is before cell phones, the way they are now existed. So it was a bit of the wild, wild west. And there was a lot of exciting things going on at the time. And I thought, okay, here's an opportunity to try and develop something that didn't exist because people didn't have apps, people didn't have software systems like this back then. So you're really kind of creating and inventing before things had been done already. It was an exciting time.
That's fantastic. So, who was the business person? Your business partner or you?
So it was more my business partner. He's an accountant by trade. And I brought him in from the business side of it. And together we just sort of grew that. And it was challenging at the beginning because, of course, when you develop something and people weren't as familiar with computers, I don't want to date myself, but these were the days of WordPerfect and
Right.
and Lotus and things like that. So you know, there was no internet. There was CompuServe. These were the green screens on some of the computers. I mean, this goes way back. Uh, but we thought, how do we develop an application that's actually going to make a difference? It's going to make it easier for the people that are using it to crunch the numbers, push through the paper, reduce the amount of their workload, like physically make a change, because that's what the programs did back then, especially with the paper.
Right.
Uh, so with him, we tried to marry mortgage brokers and lenders, but of course, you know what happens? Lenders say, who are the brokers? And the brokers say, who are the lenders? So it was a bit of a challenge at the beginning, and you had to take a leap of faith. And we got a few people on this side, and then we got a few people on this side, and then it sort of just grew and grew. But yes, it was quite the challenge.
But you touch one of the most important aspects of this podcast, which is explaining to the world that technology is only there to serve humanity. So you have to find a way to use technology to make this world a better place, to save people's time, to create more abundance for everybody, and that's what we are going after. And startup companies in technology that fail to do that, they go out of business pretty quick.
Yes.
Look at it.
One of the things we learned early on was everyone has a great idea for a program. Everyone has a great idea to sort of use technology to benefit them or their company. But I've learned that to get the best answer and the best results, you have to deal with the people that use it the most. And how do you affect their lives? How are you actually changing their lives for the better? I know it sounds kind of silly, but really that's what you're doing. And sometimes you're saving them 5 minutes here and there, or 20 minutes, or an hour a day, and you're physically making a difference. And when you talk to them, you say, what are your pain points? Forget about the program and the technology. What is it that your issues are? What are your problems that you're facing? And then try and come up with a solution that can target their issues and make their lives better.
That's fantastic. So, you know how many people that write a software product to automate a business process get to sell that to somebody else? Very few, brother. Very, very few. So, congratulations on that exit.
Thank you.
How long did it take from the point that you guys started your business until you exited and you made the sale?
So I was fortunate that when I was first brought on to when someone came up with this idea and they said, "Could you develop this?" I was lucky because it was developed for somebody. And they then said, okay, this is great. They're happy for me to take it and sell it because there was a lot of other people in the industry. So it made it a much better experience because we already had a core person that was prominent in the industry that we were developing it for. And I always find that's the easiest way to come up with a solution, as opposed to just saying, I'm going to come up with an idea or a product and I'm going to make everyone's lives better. You really have to have somebody's life you're making better first, and then take that and expand it out to others. So we did that. That was our core, that was our home base. And then from there, we were able to broaden our scope.
Another great insight, right? Sometimes we write software that we think has a market, and then just to realize that nobody wants to use it because it's meaningless, or because it automates maybe 25% and it's not worth the move.
Right. Sometimes the best ideas in the world really go nowhere.
Exactly.
Right.
So what did you do after that, after you exited from that venture?
So when as I said, that product was bought out a couple times. It actually then we were offered jobs by the large company. I decided to stay in my own business, and my partner went to go work for that company. Uh, and what's interesting, that software, that core software, as everything evolved, I think they finally got rid of it around 2010. Like it had lasted for so long, and
Wow.
that part of the company was bought out, while other parts were failing, that part. So it was always exciting to know that what we wrote and those concepts and what we did lasted for as long as it did. But then through that, gave me the opportunity to pick and choose, different projects that I wanted to be on. I always wanted to pick something that I thought was going to be interesting and challenging. And as technology was changing, different opportunities presented itself. The next big opportunity that I had was somebody had an idea. There was really no iPads at the time, and they wanted to develop an application for the oil and gas industry using tablets. And I already been doing work for, I wrote a system for an engineering company so they could track their information when their engineers are out in the field and doing appraisals and surveying bridges and things like that. So I thought this is interesting, the concept of the tablet and being portable and filling the information and taking the data back. Again, the tablets back then were not as good as they are now. They were $7,500 to $10,000 for a rugged tablet. These were expensive and costly devices. So we developed that, and then through that, I got approached to write a system for the field service industry. And around 2008, I went in, met a company in Tucson. They were an air conditioning company, and they approached me, and we started a company called Mobile Software Technology, and that was the beginning of the most field service software system. That at the time there wasn't a lot of programs that did that. But what I liked about what they were doing was they had a different approach, and it wasn't about the software. It was about how do you take the industry best practices, which are just on paper, and how do you make the lives of the technicians better and the presentation and the lives of the customer experience better? So it was more people focused as opposed to just churning numbers and printing out information.
That is fascinating. And how long did it take you for you to stop writing code and really become a business and technology leader?
Oh, I stopped writing code probably late 1990s, early 2000s, when I found that as it was evolving, I found my experience was what mattered, and the ability to, I'd done work, consulting in other businesses throughout all this, and it was being able to come into a situation, see where the true issues were, mobilize the various parts of the organization. It's not just tech, and see, okay, how do we come up with a solution that everyone is happy with? Because, the bigger the pie, the more people want a piece of it, and that makes it very challenging. So I shifted over to more of a product owner, product manager role in the early 2000s, and more designing than developing. And I found younger and smarter people to do that anyways.
That was one of the hardest things that I had to face. So as I grew up as a software developer, senior software developer, architect, finally became a technology leader in 2001. Um, Everything started to go well. Like I started to grow as a technology leader, but always was writing. I was choosing the piece of the project that I could write code at. Because I was always in love with writing code. Even though I went very high up in the technology space, like nobody will know that I will actually still be writing some code behind the scenes. I
That,
will always hide it. And then when I started my own business, uh, I had to write everything myself because I started just with myself as a software consultant in 2005. And very quickly, the company grew to 3, 4 developers. And then I started getting mentors, and I wouldn't stop writing software. It was only in 2010 where one of my mentors told me, if you don't stop writing software, I will never teach you anything else. Because I had in my mind that I was the best coder in the world and nobody
right.
would write software better than I did, which was ego, right? And it was
It's
killing
hard to
my
give
own
up the
company.
reins. It's hard to give up the control.
It was ego that was killing my
Yeah.
business. So I finally understood, and I said, no, it's time for me to be a true leader and just inspire people to write the best software and hire people better than me. And now that I have, over 60 developers in my company, it feels so funny that, every single developer that I have is 10 times better than I was.
That's right. That's right. But I don't know if you found, what I found is I was able to still look at what they were writing and find issues or better ways to do it, even though I wasn't able to code it. They were always amazed at, how could you debug this? How could you know what we were doing? You don't even write this. I said, it's a thought process. It's the way of analyzing and looking at.
And when you know that no matter how far technology grows, the fundamentals, the basics, the foundations, it's all the same, right? Even with the birth of AI, you can still go back to the basics, like the line of thinking of software technology is still the same. Same thing happens to me. I try not to get involved in architectural work. I try not to get involved solving issues anymore because I have a business to run, and This is my second podcast, and I love doing what I do, adding value to the world. But sometimes, if necessary, people call me and I can spot what the issue is right away,
Right.
right? And most of the time, it's a human problem. It's not a code problem.
I find the biggest issue with technology and developers now is they come up with technology solutions, which are amazing, but some of them aren't people solutions. And so you come up with this solution that really works well. It does everything you want, but then the usability, the personability part of it, it doesn't work. It doesn't fit because they didn't take into account how the users are actually going to be using it on that level. And I find that's the challenge.
Yeah, and that's why I love following. We have a customized agile approach where we can actually show people at the end of every sprint what they're gonna do, and they can play with it to make sure that we're hitting the mark, that the actual users will enjoy working with the program that we're
Mhm.
building, right? What would you tell your young self? Like, if you go back in time and talk to your 30-year-old self, what would you tell?
Enjoy your hair while it lasts. I think that's what I would say. Yeah. I, I would say don't take for granted that the least important person at the company you're doing the work for, that don't think that they don't have ideas and visions that have merit.
Mhm.
Because too often at the beginning, when you're young, you always deal with the managers and the owners and people in higher rankings. But then you sort of learn that in order for the system to succeed, it's the people that are the workers that we'll say at the lower end of the scale, not the management level. They're really what are going to make it a success or not. And you have to take into account, I don't care who they are, but they have value in their ideas and their solutions, and always listen to them. Sometimes more than the managers and the owners.
Such a brilliant advice, Wayne. Thank you for that. It reminds me, I was hired for my company to work on a financial technology system for the education industry. So online financial accounting for schools, and they grew pretty quickly. And the reason why they grew so much, number one, they had the best company that was building the software. And no, actually, to be honest with you, they did that approach. They Before they sold the solution to the school board, which is a school board is like a head office from an organization that has multiple entities in a geographical area, right? So a school board could have 100 schools, 200 schools, even 500 schools.
Mhm.
So they will go to the office administrators at the school level. They will ask what's their pain, what's how can they make their life easier from the financials perspective. They will incorporate that into their software. We will implement for the school administrators, not for the VP of finance.
Mhm.
And once these people were happy and satisfied, they are the ones that will talk up through the ranks to buy the software.
Right.
And now they become $100 million company, and they are one of the largest fintech companies in the education industry in North America
That's amazing.
because
That
they did what you're saying. They care about the person that is actually using the program and how we solve the need of these people, even though they may look just like a normal school administrator.
yep.
They were the ones with the power because they're the ones that actually needed the solution.
I've always said that owners and managers are the ones that decide whether to purchase something, but it's always the end users are the ones that decide whether it's a success or not. And
Yeah.
that's what people have to realize.
In your business career, what has been the most important problem that you had, and how do you overcome it, and what do you learn from it?
Ironically, it's dealing with personalities. I've often said you don't need a computer degree to be successful. You need a psychology degree
Yeah.
because you have people that have their own thoughts on how things should work and how the program should work. And you have to not dismiss their idea, but also make them understand maybe there's a better way or somebody else's idea has merit. And you have to balance all that. And when you come in as the project manager or owner or a consultant, that's a really tough job because you don't want to say that's a bad idea, especially when you're dealing with a CFO or a CTO, and maybe what they're saying isn't the best way, to to actually use or create the system. So I find that's probably one of the most challenging aspects that I've ever had. We've had, quite some battles in boardrooms, trying to make people understand, why it's not that their idea is wrong, but I always say there's the right solution and there's the right now solution,
Yeah,
and you have to look at which one you want to do.
that is
So I'll
that is
go back to school for
true.
my psychology degree, and then I'll be much better at this.
It's so funny because like I've been recording interviews for this podcast lately, and that's as software scientists we see patterns easier than any other people does, right? And the pattern has been in my interviews psychology, people mindset, behavior, human behavior. Like it's almost like if you want to become a great leader in technology, you have to study, understand why people do what they do, so that you can lead the people in the right way, the way they will actually absorb it. Isn't that incredible?
When we when I was involved with the field service software program, we'd sit with the managers and they would tell us how the program has to be. And then when we were revamping it to the next level, right after you came on board, we actually, my partner at the time, we sat with the actual technicians. No one actually sat with the technicians and said, what do you want to see? What will make your life easier? Not what the manager thinks will make your life easier. And it was amazing. And one of them, basically the idea was, can you just make the font bigger in some of the screens?
Sí.
So we changed the font. I couldn't believe how many technicians at the meetings were saying, "Oh my God, I love this change. It's so much easier, it's so much better." Like the simplest of changes, but nobody actually asked the opinion. What would they like to see? What would make their life better? Because management thinks one thing, not understanding the needs and desires of the people actually using the application.
Mm. When it comes to happy feelings and satisfaction, what part of working in the software industry has brought you the most feeling of happiness and fulfillment?
I think most developers will feel the same way. Um, when you develop something and people genuinely like it. It's like an artist. You've created something. And when people genuinely like what you've done, it is really the best feeling. It sounds corny, but it truly is, because you develop something, and whether it's the way it looks or the way it operates, and it's part of you, and you want someone to like it. You really want, it's like buying a new suit or something. You want someone to say, "Hey, you look, that's nice. You did, great suit." So I find that to me is the nicest thing when I get I don't need awards, you don't need stuff like that. But when someone says, I like this, good job.
Yeah, it's beautiful for me. Is that, but also when we're able to solve a big problem, or when we get a company out of business, like help them not go out of business because we fix their technology. It's such a satisfaction when they tell us we're the heroes. We're not the heroes. We're just doing our job the best that we can. But it has happened many times where I get these emails from CEOs saying, we're so grateful that you came into our business and helped fix this multi-million-dollar problem. And because of you, now we're thriving before we were facing bankruptcy.
Yeah, I agree. That's
Incredible,
nice.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't take much. We just like to feel that what we did had merit and value.
Exactly. Yeah.
We want to make a difference.
What would you suggest somebody that wants to become eventually a CTO, a CIO? They're probably just a programmer right now or a developer. What would you suggest this person? How will they, try to achieve their goals of becoming a leader?
So aside from understanding the technology and what's out there, which is a lot tougher now than it was years ago, because it's changing so fast and so rapid, just as you've kept up with something, it's changed again. So you really have to know a bit of everything as opposed to a lot of one thing. I don't believe in the word expert, because how can you be an expert in something that's constantly evolving and changing? But I would say, and this goes into what you were saying to my younger self, uh, listen to people around you. Don't just understand what the technology is doing, but understand where this can go. Could you imagine talking to somebody when the World Wide Web was just coming out in the 90s, or when smartphones were just being developed, and trying to make them understand, where this is going to be? We couldn't back then. We couldn't fathom it. So it's really hard. So I think the key thing I would say is, um, just keep your ears, always listen, always see what's happening, what's evolving around you, and always be inquisitive, be curious, ask why.
That's why. That's beautiful, brother. All right. I want to be very conscious of your time, Wayne. Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Um,
Thank you.
one last question. If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write in it?
That's a great question. I would say think of others. If I had to put something out there, I'd say think of others.
Think of others.
Yes.
What a
Always.
humble way. What a humble way to end this podcast. And
No.
it's true. A true leader is the person that thinks of others even before themselves, isn't it?
Yep. A good leader surrounds himself with people that are better and smarter than him.
Exactly. And you can only
Right.
do that if you are humble. If you become pride, that's the end of your career. I mean, you may still have a job, but people will start hating you behind your back.
Exactly. This has been
Well,
great. Thank you.
thank you so much, Wendy. If people like to hire your services, where can they find you online?
They can go to my LinkedIn page, look me up at Wayne Lipkiss, and you'll be able to find me. And if you need a product owner or a system developed, I know a good IT company that can help me do that.
Thank you so much, Wayne. Yes, and have a beautiful rest of the
Be
week.
well. Enjoy. We'll talk to you later.
Cheers.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leaders in Tech podcast. Check in next week to keep learning how to use technology and leadership to change the game. See you next time.